welcome to QA Secret. In this video we will discuss what is WebElement, how to find WebElement, different locator strategies and traditional locators. So let's get started. Here I will explain this concept by taking a dummy site. So here I have opened this dummy site. So if you want to automate this site, then you have to do three steps. So first you have to open the browser Chrome, and after that you have to navigate to this URL, dummy site URL, so that the page will be loaded. And after that we have to do certain operation on those elements, and after the our automation script is done, we have to close the browser. So these are the basic steps we need to be followed in every test case, whatever the test case you will write. So this is the common steps we have to do. So the main point is to interact with this HTML element. So there is an interface called WebElement present in Selenium, which represents the abstraction of this HTML element. So basically this text input, this text box is an web element, this password is an web element, this text area is an web element. So the next question is like, how we'll find these web elements in Selenium. So in the driver class there are two methods called find element and find elements. So these two methods gives us the web element, and using which we can do certain operations. So the web element interface provides lot of methods using which you can do all the operations on any element. So everything you are seeing in this web page is an web element, and we can find these web elements using certain locator strategies like CSS, XPath, ID, link test, all these actually. So there are around 8 locators, traditional locator strategies using which we can find these locators. So it will be very clear when I'll write an sample program. So I am going to IntelliJ, and I am just creating one new class. I can give name dummy test. So here I will create an reference of WebDriver. I'll import this class. So here I am using test.ng, so no need to write main method. So I am just using @test tag, and I'll just write a method public void test. Okay, so now as discussed, the first step will be opening and browser. So and creating a session, and using that session we have to write our automation script. So first step is opening the browser. So I'm writing in the comment line opening the browser. As I am here I am using Chrome browser, then I have to initialize the browser instance. So driver is equal to new Chrome driver. So this line will open the browser, and after opening the browser we have to navigate to that dummy site, right? So navigating to the dummy website. So there is a method in the WebDriver interface called get, which will help us to navigate to that URL. So if you see driver.get, so if I write driver.get, and I'll give the link of that URL. So So now we have navigated to this website. Okay, and if you see what is this get method actually do, if you mouse over this one, it is written all the things. So load a new web page in the current browser window. So basically this method generally loads the website in the correct browser window. This is done using an http post operation. So all those internal things have written. So that is this part is done. So when we are automating, so first we have to initialize the browser in driver instance, and after that we have to navigate to that site, and after that we have to interact with different elements. To interact with different elements, there are different methods, two methods present in the driver interface. One is find element and find elements. These two methods we will use in almost all the programs. So let's see. So what I'll do, I'll just write driver dot, if you see, find elements and find element. So I am using find element. So find elements is returning list of web element. Here it is written, and find element is returning web element. So let's go to this find element method. So I want to show the definition, so I am just command clicking this method. So basically so it is returning an web element, and it is taking the parameter as by. So basically what it is doing actually, so here the definition is written. So here the things is written, what is the method is doing. So find the first web element using the given method. This method is affected by the implicit wait times in force at the time of execution. The find element invocation will return a matching row or try again repeatedly until the configured timeout is reached. Find element should not be used to look for a non-present element using non-present element. So basically this method has three parts. So basically it will return the web element. So if it didn't find, then it will throw no such element exception actually. So in this method, if you see, it is taking this by class as parameter. So by class in Selenium provides the locator strategies to identify the element. So there are different locator strategies like XPath ID, CSS selector, tag name, class name, partial test, partial link test. So these are the traditional locator strategies present, and using which this method will give us the web element reference of that corresponding element. So we'll go back to our code. So here what I have written, driver dot find element. So this will give us the corresponding web element of the by locator. So it is expecting an parameter of by class. So we can write here in the parameter by dot. So here I'll use XPath. So you can write by dot XPath, and if you see the syntax, it is expecting the string XPath expression. So I will just write by dot XPath and bracket, and here in the double quote and import class, and here it is expecting an XPath. So what we'll do, we already studied how to find XPath. So I'll just right click on this element and click on inspect, and if you see this is the element pointing to that text input. So in this case there is two things are there. So if I want to write a XPath, I'll do command F and I'll start writing this one. So here I'll use I can use ID attribute. I can use ID attribute. So by using ID attribute I can write, so I can write double slash. I'll give the tag name is input, and in the square bracket started I have to write at the rate for the attribute, and here I am using id attribute equal to that attribute value. So you have to paste that attribute value in the single quotes, and you can close the bracket, and if you hit return, it will point to that element basically. So it is pointing to that element. So this is the correct XPath. So what I'll do, I'll just copy and I will paste. So now this driver dot find element, we got the corresponding web element. Now we can do all the operations on this web element. So the web element interface contains lot of methods using which you can perform all the operations. So basically I am trying to enter some text, as it is a text box. So if I close this one, if you see, it is a text box and I want to enter. So there is a method called send keys. Using send keys we can enter some character sequence, means we can pass the string also. So here I can write QA secret. Okay, and I'll just make it full screen so that you can see. Command option shift L, command option shift L. So I just formatted. So now similarly, if you want to find another element, so suppose I want to click on the submit button, similarly I can write driver and dot find element and by dot XPath, and I want to find this element, inspect, and here so I can write on XPath, write double slash input. I can write a text function equal to submit. Okay, it is not finding. Why? Let me check. Oh, this is not input, this is a button. So we have to change to button, then it will find. Yeah. And now I'll just paste that XPath. Here I am only using XPath, but we can write, we can use any locator strategy, and we'll read in details actually. So I'm just using click method. So what it will do, it will click on that submit button, and after that I'm not closing the browser now, so for our understanding, but we can close the browser. So if we do driver dot quit, so it will close the browser. So if we run this test, it will open the Chrome browser first, and it loaded the page and it closes the browser. So it is very fast, so that's why it got passed. So I'll not close now, so that we can see that it perform the action. So if I run, so it open the browser, it is enter the text and it click the submit button. So now the test is passing. So I have mentioned that there are two methods. One is find element, another is find elements. So these two methods give us the web element reference, and on the web element there are different methods, and using which we can do all the operation on any HTML elements. So basically I'll show an example where I'll use the use the find elements method, so which will return us the list of web element, and we'll see an example. So here in this website, I'll go to this. There is one scenario where I have to find all these elements which is taking some input. So here if you see, text is an input box, password is an input box, text area is an input box, and date picker is also an input box. So if I just inspect, and if I go to down, and if I just inspect, see the tag is input. So my requirement is I have to find all the element having this input tag type. So if you see, there are 14 elements. So I want to find the type is equal to text. So type is equal to text. So there are 4 elements if you see. So I'll just zoom it. So if you see in the left hand side, 1 of 4, so there are 4 element having in a tag name is input and the type is equal to text. So I want to verify that these forms contain these 4 elements. So what I'll do, I'll just take this XPath, and I will use one method, find elements method here. So what I'll do, my requirement is I need to find out these 4 elements using this XPath. So what I can do, I can write driver dot find elements by dot XPath. So this one I can paste this XPath. So this will point to 4 elements. So this driver dot find elements basically returns the list of web element. If you see the syntax, it is written that it will return list of web elements. So it will find all the elements within the current page using the given mechanism. So given mechanism is like the by locator. So whatever the locator you are passing, if it is pointing to 4 different HTML elements, it will return all these elements actually. And if this XPath is wrong, then it will return us a empty list actually. So we'll do test by using we'll test actually both the things. So if you see here, it is returning the list. So there is one method called size, which will give us the size of the list. So I am storing in a integer count variable. So and I am using sout to print this count. So if I run this test, it should print the count as 4. So if we go here, it didn't print, it printed 0. Okay, because what I am doing, I am clicking the submit button and it is navigating to another page. So we have to place this line before submit, so that it will find those elements. So I'll place this line before before clicking the submit button, then it should print the count. So here it open the page, and if you see the console, now it is printing the 4, because what was happening, previously it was entering the text, and after that it was clicking this button, submit button, and it is coming to this page. And in this page that input type or text is not there, so that's why it was returning us the 0. So if find elements method didn't find that element, it will return an empty list, whereas the find element method will throw an exception called no such element found exception. So this is very important thing we have to remember. The difference between them is difference between find element and find elements is this is like there are two difference. One is it returns find element return web element, and find elements return list of web element. And find element will throw no such element exception if the element is not present in the web page, and find elements will give us an empty list. Instead of throwing an exception, it will give us an empty list. So these are the main core concepts. I think we discussed. So let's go to the notes, and we'll see other things in, so that I should not miss anything. So here I have written the basic concept. So for locating web element there are two methods. One is find element and another is find elements. So I have written the syntax also here. Web element, find element by, and by is the parameter or for locator strategy actually which we use. So and it is throw no such element exception for find element method. And similarly find elements, I have written the return type is list of web element, and the parameter is it is taking the by class parameter, which is the locating mechanism in Selenium, which represents the locating mechanism in Selenium, and we'll read in this video only. So and it is returning list of web elements, and if the element is not found, then it will return an empty list, which I already seen the size was 0. So if you want to see, I can show the practical also. So here what I'll do, I'll just give the wrong XPath, and if I text 1 and if I run this program, then it should print a 0, because with the input type tag and type text is equal to 1, there is no such element. So it is printing 0, which is correct. Okay, so I'll close this browser windows. I'll close this one. Okay, and we'll go to the notes. So these things we have already discussed, and these web find elements and find element, both these methods took by parameter. So by represent the locator strategies in Selenium. So using one of these locator strategy, we can find the corresponding web element. Okay, and that is what I have written here, so you can go through it. And here one important point in this web element interface. So whatever the method we are calling after this driver dot find element method, so all these method calls, actually all these method calls like click, send keys and all these things, so all the method calls will do a fresh check to ensure that the element reference is still valid. This essentially determines whether the element is still attached to the DOM. If a test fail, if this test fail, then stale element reference exception is thrown, and all future calls to this instance will fail. So what happens in some website, you find the web element by using this find element method driver dot find element, and after that we are calling certain methods like click or send keys. So what this click and send keys method will do, they will again check to ensure that the element reference is still present in the page. So within that time, if the element is not present in that web page, what will happen, it will throw an exception called a stale element reference exception. in who and all the future call, all the future call on this instance will fail. So basically the element should be attached to the DOM while we are calling the different methods of web element, like submit, click, those things. So every time whenever you are calling a method like click, submit, send keys, there is always these methods will do a fresh check to ensure that the element reference is valid. Otherwise it will throw an stale element reference exception, and we will get this type of exception while doing automation of few websites actually. So basically what happens, the page will not load properly. Sometimes the page will be refreshed by some jQuery. At that time you will find the element, but while calling the page is got loaded, and at that time it will throw an exception called stale element reference exception. This is a very common exception you will get in Selenium. Okay, so that is what. And here I have represents the web element interface. So basically this web element interface extends from search context interface and text screenshot interface, and implements the remote web element, and event firing web element implements this web element interface. So and here I have provided you the web element method. So basically this clear method, click method, and get accessible name, get area role. So these are the methods present on the web element interface. So I'll create a separate video in which we will go through all these methods present in this web element interface. So basically we'll use almost all these methods. So based on our requirement we'll use all these methods actually. And in our coming videos also we'll use all these methods basically. And we have already discussed about these two method, find element and find elements. So as we have discussed that this find element and find elements method is also present in the driver interface, and using these two methods we are getting the web element. And also this web element interface also contains this method. That means you can call these methods on web element also. Uh, so uh, so that means we can call these methods on the web interface also. So that means I can show you one practical example, suppose this is an website, and you find this individual web element, write a text input, password box, you find these two elements. So but there is there will be one requirement, we have to find certain web elements from a particular part of the web page. So the everything whatever you are seeing is an element, web element in Selenium, right? So if I highlight this form, so this is an also element, right? So when I am highlighting this one, let me highlight this one. So if you see this box is also an web element, and my requirement is I have to find this text input and password box from this web element only. So suppose you think that there are this form contain this type of box duplicate, and there can be duplicate locators, but I have to find out only the text input box present in this web table or this div. Then how I can find out? So what you can do, so you just inspect this one. So I'll inspect this one. So this is the div actually which is containing that block. So what I'll do, I'll just write an XPath for this. Copy, you can directly write XPath. So let me paste here. So is this correct or I need to modify? So no, this is giving an absolute XPath, which is wrong. I have to write a relative XPath. So I'll get this class name, /div, and I can write @class is equal to this is the class name. I'll just copy this class name and I'm closing the bracket. So there are three class name actually. With this XPath there are three, so I have to find it uniquely. Then that will be, I can use I can use in this way also. Let me see. I can write double slash double slash form double slash text input. Okay, so we can write in this way. So we can use ancestor. Okay, so what we can do, or parent tag, we have to write in this way, otherwise it will throw error. So what I'll do, I'll just write label text function I'll use, and is equal to, I'll use this text input. I think then space it is taking, I think. Oh my god, this is let's see if it is on track or not. So it is, we can use this one. We have already have one XPath table, right? So let's go to that. We have all the things. So normalized space we have to use. So we have the table we have already studied, so we'll use normalize XPath, normalize space actually. So I just want normalize space, yes, this one. I'll just copy to ensure that I do not do spelling mistake. See, now it is highlighting because this element contains space after the text. So to avoid that's why the text function was not working. So we got this one, and if we go to slash and we have to write parent, because we have to select the topmost box, and if I write double colon div, so it will highlight that element. So this is where this access comes into picture, and it will help us actually when this type of scenario occurs. So now we found this complete web element, and so I'll use this one. So I'll write another text actually for more better understanding, to be clear. So I can write @test and public void test2, and here what I'll do, I'll just paste this XPath here and I'll just copy these two lines because I have to initialize the driver reference variable, and I have to navigate to this site, and after that I can write driver dot find element. So command X, and here I can write the by class by dot XPath, and here I am using the XPath, and here what I have to write, so dot my intention was to call the find element method again, right? So inside this find element there is also so we can call one find element. Okay, command option shift L, I'll just format it. So I can call, so this is pointing to the table and I want to call okay, so this is pointing to that big table actually. So we have already seen, right? This is pointing to detail, and I want to find this text input element. So what I did, I call this find element method, and inside that because this is returning an web element, okay, and this is returning an web element, and after that on top of this I am calling again this find element method, and I have to find which element. I have to find this element actually. So I want to find this text input. So already we have written the XPath in the previous example, so I am pasting this one, and you can write dot, and you can now also pass this send keys QA secret. Okay, and similarly we can use another the find elements also, find elements method also. So we can do like this same in the table I want to find out the number of input tag elements. So I have to write find elements, and I have to pass this by dot XPath. Okay, and we can pass this XPath already used, so we have to find the number of input element. So we'll having type text, so I just write, and if you write dot size, so and I'll just write int count is equal to this, and so now I'll write s out, which will return the print len statement, and I'll print count. So just I show this example to show this example, right? We can also use find element and find elements method on web element also. Okay, so if you run this test, so it failed. What is okay, so there is one exception I'm getting on this line. Okay, so here I am getting, see, I am getting one invalid selector exception, unable to locate an element using this XPath. So see carefully, so this is very important. So when we are doing the automation, the exceptions are good. Okay, so if you are getting an exception, nothing to worry. So you read this exception, so invalid selector exception. So basically this exception occurs when the locator you are passing is incorrect. Okay, so here if you see the string input type input at the rate in the square bracket at the rate id is equal my text id is not a valid XPath expression. So if you by seeing this text you will get to know, okay, this is not valid because the square bracket I have started here but I didn't close the square bracket. So that is wrong, right? The XPath is wrong, so there is a error, so that's why. So you have to close the bracket here. Now I think it should work. Let's see. Now also it is throwing error. Why this Chrome driver didn't started? Okay, driver is equal to new Chrome driver, and let me see what I had happen. I'll close these browsers. I think something is happening. Okay, let's run this one. Yeah, the browser is open and it entered the text called QA secret and int print the count as 4. Okay, okay, I have one doubt, like why it is printing 4. Okay, so let me check once again. The program is correct. I'll just check this Shooks path. Elements. I have did one small mistake. So here in this second XPath we have to put dot in the starting, and after that we have to write the XPath. So if you see this find elements method syntax, it is already written that find all the elements in the current context using the given mechanism. When using XPath, be aware that WebDriver follows standard convention. A search prefix with double slash will search the entire documents, not just the children of this current node. Okay, and use dot double slash to limit your search to the children of this web element. So when you are using web element and you are writing dot find elements method, in that time when you are using the XPath you put dot double slash so that it will start searching inside that web element instead of the complete document actually. So that's why I have put dot here so that it will limit the search inside this web element. So this is the mistake from my end, so I rectified it by going through the documentation and got the things. And if you run this one now, now it is printing 3. So if you want to, so if I remove this dot, then it will print 4, because in the DOM actually there are 4 elements. So when you are not mentioning dot, so it is searching this complete web page and it is printing all the web elements with input tag as input and type is equal to text. So you have to place dot. Okay, so that's we'll go to the notes, and we have discussed about find element and find elements method in the web element interface and how to use them. And other methods anyways we'll use in our coming videos, so on details. So I'll create a separate video on all these methods, and after that we'll study about these locator strategies. So already we have seen that in find element and find elements method is taking the by class parameter. So by class in Selenium is used to locate elements in the web page. It provides various methods to locate elements based on different criteria like ID, XPath, CSS selector, link test and partial link test. In this table I have mentioned all the traditional locators supported by class in Selenium, and these are the locators like class name is one of the locator. So by using class name we can locate the element. So by, if you write by dot class name and you pass the class name, we can locate that element. Similarly, using CSS selector we can locate the element. So you by dot CSS selector and you pass the CSS selector, it will locate the element matching with the CSS selector. Similarly, for ID, so if you want to locate an element having an ID attribute, so yeah, so you can use by dot id method and you can pass the id of that locator and you can locate that element. Similarly, name is for using locating the used to locate the element with name attribute. Similarly, link text is locates the anchor elements whose visible text matches the search value. So you can use this method by using by dot link text method. So basically I have written similarly you can use tag name and XPath, and here these are the locator type and these are the uh, class name. So these are static class, so you can directly call them by dot class name, by dot css selector. Those you can do that, and here I have mentioned the description. So we can do this by taking one sample HTML page here. So that sample HTML page I have already uh, have in my okay, let me go to okay okay if I go to the resource directory and web pages, these are the sample HTML page I have already uh, pasted here. So if I open in Finder this page, so this is the page, and if I open this page, this will look like this. So this is an sample web page. Sample web page I am using, and to locate different types of traditional locators, to show those examples of traditional locators. So we can use this one. So here we'll write one new program. So let's go to our WebElement. We are going to our locator package, and I just create one sample Java class locator example. So here I'll create a web driver and here we can write @test, and you can write public void test method. I'm creating one test method, and here my first step will be driver equal to new Chrome driver, and after that we have to write driver dot get. So I can pass the URL. So I am passing this URL so that it will go to this page, and after that we can use different types of locator. So we'll write driver dot find element. Now we'll go to our nodes. So here I am giving an example using class name information. So here it is locating the web element having class name information. So if we go to that HTML page and if we inspect, command F, and here you can write information. So if we expand this one, so this is the class name, and in this class name there are two elements, and this web element is present. So we can uh, so we can locate these elements by using class name. So we can copy paste, not no need, we can directly write this line. So what it will do, driver dot find element by dot, you are using class name here, so by dot class name, and you pass the class name as information. So it will locate that web element. So I am not doing any operation because can write driver dot find element. So actually it will pass the past element, right? So I can write send keys. If you do send keys, it is okay. So I can write clear method for our testing purpose, and I can use this one. So this is by using class name. Similarly, we can use the next one. So similarly we can select the element using CSS selector. So CSS selector, if we use CSS selector, so the ID is f name here. So if I want to write a CSS selector, then I have to write hash, and if I press f name, it will select that element. This is the CSS selector. We can also use CSS selector to write the locator. So let's write an example. So you can write driver dot find element by dot CSS selector, and I am passing that CSS selector, and here I am passing writing send keys, and I am passing as QA secret. So this is the example of CSS selector. Now we can write driver. Now we'll go to our nodes. So next example is ID. So you can use ID also. So let's use ID. So here if I inspect the second element, so I want to select this element by using ID. The ID is L name here. So by using this also I can write. So we can write driver dot find element, and here you can write by dot you want to use ID locator, so you can write by dot ID, and you can pass the ID here, and you can also write send keys. So if you want to send any text on that element, then you can write testing. Okay, so name is the name attribute. Let's see, is there any element with the name attribute? So here name attribute is there. Let's see, this news element, is this name attribute? No, it don't have name attribute. So checkbox, this is the checkbox, and it has the name attribute. So I using this name attribute, I can locate this element and perform the operation. So I'll go here. So I'll write driver dot find element, and you can write by dot name to select the using name attribute. So I am passing the name attribute and I am doing the click operation here. So by using name attribute also done, then we have to find link text. So so by using link text also we can find the element. So here we can, there is one link in this web page is present. So let's see, this is a link present. So if I inspect this element, so this is a link. So what we can do, by using this text we can find. So what we can do, so we can write driver dot find element by dot link text. So you can paste this link text. By using this one we can do the operation. I am not doing any operation now because I want to show other examples. So similarly there is one locator called partial link text. So by using partial link text also you can do. So similarly I can write driver dot find element, and here you can write by dot partial link text, and you can paste the same thing. I just remove selenium here, so it should work. Okay, so this is partial link text. So link text and partial link text. So we have shown. So partial link text, if you want to locate is a link, then partial link text locator is able to identify on the web page the link text. So the link text is the text displayed on the link. We can pass partial text as a value. So we are passing partial text actually. Similarly by using tag name also you can find out. So here I am using one of the tag called a tag, because by using this a tag we can locate this element. So same example, similar things. So you can write driver. So I just copied actually, so I can just paste. So driver dot find element by dot tag name, and anchor tag. By using this anchor tag you are locating this element because this is unique and it is present. So this one you can do. And similarly we can already seen most of the example using XPath. So by using XPath also we can write one locator. So I will write driver dot find element by dot, so by dot XPath. So already you have seen lot of examples. So you can write. So I'll try to write the XPath for this submit button. So like inspect, and here if you write you can write double slash input value @ type is equal to submit. Let's see it is locating or not. Yes, it is locating the submit button. So you can pass this XPath here, and you can click on the submit button. And I think we covered all these traditional 8 locators. So this is 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8. So all these traditional locator examples we have covered. So let me run if it is working fine or not. We'll see. So if you see, the test got pass. So I think we are able to find these elements by using different locators supported by Selenium. So these are called traditional locators, and mostly using these 8 you can locate any element. And there is one note actually. So basically here I have mentioned that one. So when it comes to locating web elements on a web page, some of the commonly used strategy have limitation. For example, locating element by tag name can be challenging because multiple elements with the same tag may exist on a page, making it difficult to target a specific element. Similarly, locating elements by link text is limited to only finding links which may not cover all the elements on a web page. So because of these 2 points, to overcome these limitations, Selenium WebDriver offers two powerful locating strategy, and that is, one is XPath, and second one is CSS selector. So in most of the cases we will be using this CSS selector or XPath, and we have already studied about these CSS selector and XPath and how to write them in our previous videos. So we'll use most of them. Uh, so we have seen the examples. So that's all for the day. We'll discuss about these relative locators in our next video. And thank you so much. So if you have any question, you can ask your question in the comment section, and I'll attach these notes in the description of the video. Thank you so much, and thank